All right, on the first one, let's start on Monday. Right here, what is it asking us to do? Which means what? Which means what? Come on.
Work out.
How do you do it, though? Ebola. Get what by itself? Get the Q by itself, which means we've got to move what?
Negative 5.37.
The negative 5.37. When we pick it up and we move it to the other town, what happens to it?
It turns to a positive.
Changes to a positive. All right, so we're going to drop down our Q. We're going to drop down our sign, and somebody tell me what that equals.
26.
26. All right, move over to Tuesday right beside it. This is the same thing except the variable. Why is that twisty? Hold on, I don't know. The variable is on the other side. So what do we need to get by itself? No, what do we need to get by itself? M. Isolate the variable. Get M by itself. What do we need to move? Negative 5. When we move it, what happens to it? It changes to a positive 5. All right. So now what do we drop down? Drop. All right. Now one thing I did forget is if we were going to graph this on a number line, would that be an open circle or a closed circle?
Oh, you mean closed?
It's closed because it's got that line underneath it. So it would look like that. And then this says Q is what?
Bigger than.
Smaller than.
Less than. Less than is always to the. Less than is always to the left. All right. On this one, would it be an open circle or a closed circle? Open. Now remember, you always have to say the letter first. So on this one, we're going to have to read backwards. M is what? Greater than 12. So which way? Greater than is always to the right. So if you were going to graph it, you would put it like that on a number line. All right? Skip down below that. Graph the inequality on a number line. So let's put 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. All right, what number is our focus number? 15. How do we read it? Normal or backwards? Do we read it normal, like 15, and read it going to the right? Or do we have to read it backwards and say the M first? You have to read it backwards. You have to say the M first. So that's going to be M is what? Less than is always to the left. Do I leave my circle open or do I fill it in? How do we know to leave it open?
Because it's not equal.
It doesn't have the equal to line. Very good job. Y'all got it? Easy? All right, let's go right here back on Monday. Write an inequality below that represents the graph. When you write the inequality, you get to pick. Do you want the letter to come first or do you want the number to come first? It's always easiest to write what first? The letter. So we're going to put X or A or B or C or M or whatever. I usually always use an X. All right, what is our focus number? 3. Now, did they highlight the greater than side or the less than side? They highlighted the greater than side. Okay, so that means what mouth has to be touching our X? The big one, the greater than one. Do I put my equal to line? Why not? Because the circle's open, so I leave it out. Very good job. Any questions on that one? Okay. Let's see. All right. Let's go to Wednesday. At the top, it's a two-step. What letter do we got to isolate? What variable? Z, which means we've got to move what? 8 and 2. Now, we have not done equations in a long time, since back before Christmas. Does it matter which one we move first? Yes, it does. Which one do you have to move first?
One farthest away.
The number that is by itself. Good. And the one that's furthest away from the letter. Which one of those stuttering. Which one of those numbers is touching the Z? 8. You're going to do it last. So what are we going to move first? When we move a positive 2, what happens to it? Changes to a negative 2. Okay? What does that give us? 3.25 minus 2. What does that give us? All right. Now, what is happening to the Z? What? It's being divided by 8. So how do we get rid of that? You multiply by 8. Do we change the sign? You do not. So we're going to mark divide by 8 out. And you can use parentheses, you can use an X, you can use a dot, whatever you want to do to show that we're multiplying by 8. All right, so we're going to go Z, drop down your Z, drop down your sign, and what is the answer? 10. Good. All right, if we were going to graph that, would it be an open circle or a closed circle? Closed. Why closed? It has the line. Very good. Now, read Z first. Z is what? Greater than always goes to the right, because it's got an R in it. Good. All right. Drop down to the one below it. What do we put first? X. What number are we using? Close. It looks like a -5. It is a -6. It's kind of blurry though. -6. Now, what side of the graph are they going to? The left always means what? Less. And if X is less, what mouth has to touch the X? The little one.
But it's gotta have a line under it.
All right, we're going to make the little mouth touch the X because the little mouth means less than. It's not really a mouth, it's more of a nose. It kind of looks like Rudolph right there, doesn't it? It kind of does. I am a beautiful artist. And I just drew Rudolph. And that's why Gio thinks I'm weird. And he's kind of scared of me. Are you really?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. And now, Sam, what did you say about the line? It's got to have a line under it. Why? The dot is filled in. Very good job. All right. Now, let's see. Let me zoom out of that. Do we have any more greater than, less than problems? No. Okay. Now, I told you on Thursday to mark these problems, right? The reason that we have to mark them is because they're different. And the answer is going to be a little bit weird. Now, here's the deal. I could spend, because when I first started teaching, I would do this. I would spend an entire day on these kind of problems trying to make you understand why they're different. And then I realized after doing it for 2 years, it really didn't stick that much anyway. Like, it would have just been easier if I would have just told you, hey, this is the rule, trust me on this. So that's what I'm going to do to you. I'm not going to spend a whole day explaining to you or trying to explain to you why these are different. I'm just going to tell you that they are. Okay, now here's the rule. These are the exception to the rule that I told you way back when we first started looking at inequalities. I told you that you solve them exactly like equations. Okay? And that is true except on these two problems. Now, what is different about these two problems is that x has a negative number with it. Okay? When x has a negative number with it, it messes everything up. So I'm going to put a star beside them. When x has a negative number, I always put a star beside it. So when you go to work it, you do still work it like a regular equation. So on the first one, what is on the same side as x?
5 and 9.
Negative 5 and 9. So we're going to have to get rid of negative 5 and 9. Which one do we have to get rid of first?
9.
The 9. What kind of 9 is this?
Positive.
How do you know it's positive?
There's no negative sign.
Because there's nothing in front of it. Right. So if we take positive 9 and move it to the other town and cross the bridge, what happens to it?
Becomes negative.
Becomes a negative 9. All right. So negative 81 minus 9. What would that be?
17.
Nope. Negative 81 minus 9. To refresh your memory on putting in the calculator, you're going to go 81, make it a negative, minus 9. What does it give you? Raise your hand if you know the rule that we memorized if you're going to do it without the calculator. What rule did we memorize?
Circle. Cut it in half.
What rule, go back to positive and negative numbers way back in September. If you're not using the calculator, what rule do you use to get 90?
2 negatives on the side.
You don't have to circle them because there's not 2 in a row.
There's 2 negatives.
If the signs are the same, what?
You make it 10 positives.
You add and keep the same sign. So we had 81 negatives. We moved 9 more negatives over to this side. How many negatives do we have? 90. And so way back when we were learning this, we said if you don't want to use the calculator, then 81 negatives and 9 negatives would add together to make a total of 90 negatives. Okay? If you're using the calculator, you do 81, make it a negative, minus 9. All right, so that got rid of the 9. How do we get rid of the negative 5?
Cut it. You change it to a positive and then multiply by a dividing. A positive dividing.
All right, what's happening to the x?
It's being multiplied.
It's being multiplied by negative 5. So how do we get rid of that?
You change it to a dividing.
You divide by the exact same number. If x is being multiplied by a number, you divide by the exact same number. Okay? So we're going to drop down our x. And what is negative 90 divided by negative 5?
X is less than 80. I mean, not 18.
Is it 18?
Yes.
All right. So we got x on the left. We've got 18 on the right. All of that is exactly like what we've been doing. Here's the exception to the rule. For some reason, that negative on the x messes the sign up. Okay? And what do you have to do? You have to flip it on your last step. So instead of dropping down the sign exactly like it is, we're going to flip it. When x it has a negative touching it, you have to flip the sign on the last step. So now if we were going to graph that, would it be an open circle or a closed circle? Open circle. And x is what? Is less than goes to the left. I need to open that circle up a little bit more. It doesn't look very open. All right, are we good? All right, try this one. Does W have a negative with it? Yes, so we know we're going to have to flip at the very end. What is happening to the W?
It's being divided by 2.
Now, it's not a 2, that is a negative 2. All right, so W is being divided by negative 2. How are we going to get rid of it? Multiply by, nope, the exact same number, the negative 2. So all this goes away. Bring down your W. What is negative 7 times negative 2? 14. It is a positive 14. Now, what do we do with our sign when we drop it down?
Flip it.
You have to flip it.
So W is less than 14.
All right.
And
Open or close circle? Close circle, why? It's got that line. And then W goes to the, the arrow goes to the, because it's less than. So we're going to go to the left.